Candyman, a podcast where we're not talking about the original Candyman, where they planned on saying the Candyman's name 13 times until writer-director Bernard Rose stepped in and said, no, we're only going to do it 5 times. I'm Alex.
What? You mean every time he showed up, they were going to say it 13 times?
It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
What?
Thank you, Bernard Rose.
I feel like we need to do the Candyman podcast. I'm Justin.
I'm Pete, and just before we started taping, we got slapped in the face by Justin.
Hold on,
so
we're not
excuse
quite. Hold on, save your
Excuse
slap.
me.
We have a section of the show called Slap Time and Slapbacks. Let's wait until that. We're going to be talking about
bullshit.
the final
Throwing a
episode
grenade.
of Sweet Tooth ever. Season 3, Episode 8 on Netflix. This is a story later on in the show to really round out the candy reviews we're doing. We're going to eat straight sugar for the bag, a.k.a. Fun Dip.
Fun Dip!
That. And we're also going to talk about our winner of the Syrup Cup.
Syrup
for
Cup.
2024, the best candy that we tasted this season. But recap as it all wraps up here on Sweet Tooth. We are back in the cave. Everybody is converging on there. There's a big action sequence as most of the folks go after the beast and try to stop that from getting in the cave. They are, in fact, successful. Meanwhile, after the death of Bertie, Gus first rejects everything he believes in and then ultimately believes everything he believes in and burns down the deer antler tree, saves the world from the sick, makes it so that humanity will die off and the hybrid kids will continue, but also humans are still alive and Pinky's no poppin'.
They can slowly die off.
Die off at a regular pace rather than the very quick pace
Just like
that happens.
That we're dying off slowly.
Yes. Die off at the regular pace we humans do. Or maybe, I don't know, I feel like we're not a good sample set what with all the candy we've been eating, but
Yeah.
Turns
out candy is our meteor. Like the dinosaurs were killed, it's just candy for us.
Oh, man.
A bunch of big things go down in this episode. We get Will Forte as Puma is back.
Come on!
We get exactly what we asked for. James Brolin as Old Gus telling the story.
The Bro Show!
And even though Jep gets stabbed with a second reload of that knife, he manages to survive. And we get a final shot here of him clinking maple syrup with Gus in the preserve where all the animals' kids lived. And I would be remiss not to mention, not only do we see Bobby, but we get to see Elephant Earl holding Bobby in a baby Bjorn.
A baby Bobby Bjorn.
Baby Bobby Bjorn, maybe the best shot that's ever been put on television. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't know.
Honestly, that shot, I was like, this is like doing wheelies at the end of your motorcycle race. You're just like, okay, we're having fun now.
And here's the thing. I will say, before we get into any negatives, at the end, like, I felt like Pete watching this episode because I was like pumping my fist, being like, this gave me everything that I wanted. It was on a silver platter. It was amazing.
It really did. Like, we talked about a lot of these things, and then the show is like, yes, that's right. Like we've been talking about for so much. Like a fairy tale, you sort of know the story innately, but it's still very satisfying for it to be told to you. And that's what I think this series did better than just any other show. Like, it's amazing they were able to give us a fairy tale logic defined series that changed so much over the course of it. And still land every plane in a satisfying way.
This is driving me nuts, man. You're fucking saying nice things, but I know you don't fucking mean it because you said bullshit before we started, and then you were like,
I don't like Fun Dip.
You just set the whole thing on fire. You're like, Fun Dip sucks. This episode was, even though you called the Bro Show, you got everything you wanted, and then you have the gall to be like, on the episode. Like,
let's just talk about it rather than yelling at me about it.
Well, I'm not the one who, like, 10 seconds before we hit record was just like hand grenade into the fucking room.
No, you're the person 10 seconds before we record ate 2 whole Fun Dips just to see if they still work.
Yeah,
and let me tell you, it's showing in your performance. It's showing in your performance.
Fucking search. I take this job seriously.
Job?
Job is a strong word to use about a man eating candy. And I just drove a half an hour in 2 directions to find this candy.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that because I went through hell for the Boston baked beans. Listen, first
what a hard podcast we do.
We got back up to
everybody's listening is so sympathetic to all of us right now.
By going through hell, you mean you Uber-eated the wrong beans? Because that's what happened. I don't know. I would consider that hell.
I drove all over the place, came up empty-handed, then was just like, fuck it, let me pay money to have it delivered. That way I know it'll happen before we do a podcast. And that still blew up in my face. So
yeah, there's probably some kids in some war zone somewhere who are listening to this podcast.
I'm not comparing my life to theirs.
Who I feel bad about is Pete LePage.
I'm just saying sometimes you have something that you were trying to do, and no matter what you do, it just doesn't work. That's all I'm trying to say.
Can I just say, sometimes there's something you're trying to do and it doesn't work.
Yeah, let's talk about the bro show.
How hard you try.
We got a bro over for the last episode.
More, it'll work.
We got the fantastic tones that you're kind of ruining right now, but it was so great for the last episode to get the bro over again. We love BO. And it's great to see it.
You gotta stop saying. I mean, you're gonna. You gotta stop saying it. You're going to stop.
The Brolin.
He's calling it a Brolin over. He established this in the previous episode.
Yeah, I do remember BO.
If we're gonna do callbacks, Pete, do you feel like is mommy time still or is daddy time? Pete?
Well,
we're doing callbacks. So what do you think?
Everybody's dead, so I guess nobody time.
Not everybody's dead.
No.
Definitely, I will say, to take that topic seriously, Alex, I was really thinking of this season specifically as daddy time into mommy time. But mommy time had a hard end. Mm-hmm. Not even just, I'm not making fun of the birdie death, but like the whole vibe of moms in the power position really did end at in last episode. And it lurched very strongly back to daddy time.
It seems like the show hates moms. You know what I mean?
No. I don't think it does because I think at the same time you look at, and I know for anybody listening, we're obviously hepped up and jumping all over the place here, but with the Zhangs, you got Rosie, you got her sister. Her sister gives birth in the snow, which seems terrifying, to an adorable little walrus baby. So that was very nice to see. But that power dynamic goes there. Like, basically, they defang Zhang completely.
Yeah.
The rhyme was unintentional, Pete. So they defang her, and so obviously, like,
what about the hashtag you've launched?
Yeah, what about that?
Defang Zhang. Yeah, that's, I think, the biggest problem that's facing America today, and I really hope we have some movement there. Hashtags. Yes.
Okay.
Zhang has her power taken away. Her matriarchy is flipped, but going forward, you've got Sienna is in charge of the outpost working with Nuka. You've got Rosie and her sister probably being there as well, or maybe going back to Texas and doing their own thing. So
it seems like they're flying back to Texas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. They're flying back to Texas. So
that was a great shot. The evil mom kind of slowly trudging along, and then her giant plane flies over. Pretty cool.
Yes, that was very nice. My point being, though, that I don't think the matriarchy was dismantled entirely in these last couple of episodes. But in terms of Gus and everything, it is ultimately his father figures that give him the power to do what he needs to do.
Yeah, and I don't think it wasn't about the matriarchy being dismantled. It was more about like Zhang being dismantled here. But what I really liked about sort of what you're talking about is it was the big message at the end here was like, it's time to turn the page. Like everyone instantly realizes it's just over. The henchmen are like, we didn't even really believe in this. The only one who's sticking by the fucked up principles are Zhang. And I thought it was really good, the last image of her walking alone, isolated in her backward thinking of like humans only. And she's wearing a fur, which I was like, oh, that's... I hadn't really put it together as to what a great symbol that is for just a wrong way of thinking. She is almost in cosplay as a hybrid, yet she still hates them so much.
Almost
and she has
a
killed an
Cruella
animal
de Vil.
to look. Yeah, definitely. The original, she hated hybrids. She was trying to get those dog boys, the original dog boys.
What was that movie called? 101 Dog Boys?
Dog Boys, yeah. That's the one I've seen.
There's a really nice shot in there, to the point talking about the coat, where she's standing in front of the cave and the colors of her coat are the same as the outside of the cave and like the same speckled design and everything.
You got to coordinate.
I think it's more that like she's stuck in there. Like she is stuck in the events in that cave. Even though she comes out, that's where she still is. And that's where she forever will be. Talking about that, though, let's talk about Singh, because I definitely said I don't think there's any redemption for him after what he did in the past couple of episodes. What do you think? Did he redeem himself there? Because he ultimately did end up dying alone in the cave.
It was kind of hilarious the way it was like, he does the slow motion stab, two people jump in front. Then it's like, okay, I'm going to do it again. And then it was like another reset, and it was like, man, this knife buildup is real. And he just kept going into that same pose, and then it would cut away. And then it would be back, and we're like, all right, we got to set this up again. I was like, all right, let's get to this. But I do think that it was great to have Singh's trigger be his wife, you know what I mean? Like that whole thing of like, I never told you her name, and the realization that he's on the wrong side. It kind of felt a little bit like What's Your Mom's Name, where I was like, really? That's the thing? But I'm glad.
Martha.
Yeah, I'm glad that he was finally like, okay, I am going to make the right decision, even though it's at the last fucking second, but I'm finally going to choose the right team. So, and then that dive move he did to save Gus at the end, that's a baller move. And it was adorable to see the kind of little twig growing out of the antler that he was held on to as he died slowly.
Well, a bunch of things about that. I do think Singh does transition from his... He changes a lot, and it's sort of unprompted. And this is the part of the show that of the plot, anyway, that I was like, it just feels a little muddy to me. Because Singh has been so changeable. He's been bad, he's been good, he's been a believer, a non-believer, and it's just so chaotic. So he's hard to have feelings about, because you're like, I don't know, I don't understand what drives him so hard to believe in this destiny, to believe in his wife for so long, that he was killing these hybrids he didn't want to do to keep her alive, even though she didn't want to do it. And then that sort of ends, and then he throws himself into this dream destiny belief. And I think the way I can only put it together, and the show doesn't really show us this, but what I think it is he finally realizes that he's just been being pushed by these other things, or his own ego or whatever. And he finally realizes that he's sort of been taken advantage of by Zhang, by these ideas, by the seduction of his own heroism. That he realizes maybe in that moment that Gus is the only thing that is unselfish here, that he's just trying to do what needs to be done. And I think that makes him unselfish. I just wish in that moment we could understand that thinking more, because the entire story sort of hinges on Singh's choices here.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying, Justin, because they kind of threw everything at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was like, oh, his wife, hey, the elevator. I just feel like if we would have picked one, and if he had a flashback to his wife saying like, oh man, these kids are the future or something.
That's what I was hoping.
It in. Or I would have loved if Jep brought back the elevator, and then maybe we got like a flashback of like, we saw how Jep felt destroyed by the elevator. It would have been nice if like Dr. Singh was maybe destroyed by that same conversation or something.
I agree with you guys. I do wonder if that was left out, though, to have the real, not exactly flashback, but flashback moments saved for Will Forte. Because if you have everybody in the episode having flashbacks at different moments, I think it diffuses that power a little bit.
Yeah, but before you die, you get a flashback. You know what I mean? That's just how TV
I don't know
works.
if that's guaranteed. Are you saying you're looking forward to a flashback before you die?
Oh, man, I can't wait. That's the best part
I'm
about
going to have
dying.
a montage sequence of all the candy we ate on this podcast.
Ooh, that'll be fun. Sort of a wasted last wish, I would think.
Hey, nothing wasted about candy.
Wish.
Come on, bro. Yeah.
A wish. I don't know. I guess it's a wish.
Jeannie, I wish to die and also picture candy.
I do think, though, to agree with Pete, I do think it would have helped so much to have that there. Like, I think the Pubba stuff, because to me, the Pubba wasn't a flashback. That was like, Gus went to Pubba world. And
he went to the tree
zone.
land. He was in the tree afterlife world, yeah.
So like I would, because I do agree, like to tie Jep and Sing together, and since the show did that earlier, to tie them up in that moment and have them be this episode especially was about fathers, how Sing was like a dysfunctional father, Jep is the like tried and true father, and Puba is sort of the idealized, father you have when you're super young and just think that your dad's amazing. Like we have these three dads, and I wish we could have seen them sort of all in a loop, because they sort of are all dads in a way. We think of our dads, depending on your life, I guess, in those ways: the idealized, the sort of real, loyal, and then the one that lets you down. And I love that idea as the Gus's three fathers here, but it just didn't put them all in it got so close to putting them together. And if we had connected Jep and Sing, I think then Jep and Puba, that draws the Trinity together.
I agree with you. I mean, there was a lot of back and forth with Sing. I like the actor, and I like the acting choices he made. I also appreciate the place where he ended up. I do think
under a rock, squished.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that's
just absolutely obliterated. Blood probably leaking out.
Friend Justin died of a boulder.
Oh yeah, this is a reference to the comic book Lock and Key. We're not going to get into there. Listen to Lock and Key Unlocked for more information on that. That's another podcast. But I wanted to throw out to you guys, I assume the implication for the fact that Sing is holding the antler and there is growth coming out of it is that the tree is going to be renewed and grow again.
Because it drinks his blood.
Yeah, blood in, blood out.
Yeah, it's like a vampire tree. No, but seriously, I think like the cycle will begin again.
I thought it was just life begins again. I didn't know it meant the blood antler tree was going to grow again.
Well, and that brings up another question I have. So what is the antler tree? Is the antler tree the Earth's antler?
No, it's the Earth's kind of vein. You know what I mean? Yeah.
The main vein of the Earth?
Yeah.
That comes to the surface?
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. I couldn't quite figure out how burning the tree to the ground works, because my understanding up until the point that Gus makes the decision to burn down the tree, which I take as metaphorically removing it from the equation entirely, like taking the choice out of everybody's hands. Like, I think that's why they did it. But in terms of logically how it works, you've got the sick coming out of there, like literally bleeding out of the tree. Like we talked about in the last episode, my understanding of it was falls into the ice, seeps into the ice. The ice obviously is like part of the water of the world. That's why the sick got all over the world, is over time it just leaked into there and got out. Taking the axe out speeds up the process because there's more sap coming out of the antler tree. But I don't understand how burning it works, because also metaphorically it's, what do they call it? The heart of the world, right? So presumably that would, in a fairy tale logic, do something bad to the world if you burned its heart.
I was kind of thinking that like the antlers, as we all know, are kind of like the pinkies for humans. So it's just like our metaphorical pinky tree. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You ever see a deer? They're like biggies.
Yeah, exactly. And if they're shaking, you gotta walk away. You know what I mean?
You ever meet someone who hunts humans? They have a wall of pinkies in their den.
That's true. That's true.
That's
probably the last thing you'll ever see if you walked into a room and it's just all pinkies at once.
Yeah, look at all those pinkies. Go!
Yeah.
Flashback, Candyman. Oh no, I wasted my wish. And also, like when you hunt deer, it's about getting the most number of points on your buck. Right. It's only max two for humans.
Well, it's six-fingered man. You know what I mean?
Good point. That's very rare.
That's my six-finger man is my great white whale.
Yes. Hunted with a harpoon.
Same for an eagle Montoya.
Wow, we are talking a lot about different things. But what I was going to say about the antler tree is, my take at the end is that it's sort of the Earth's reset button, and like it grows slowly over time, and when it hits, sort of ripening, it's like, all right, humans are done. Cut them. And so Gus breaks the cycle by burning it down, so the humans are okay to live even as the next species moves forward. And so the sprout at the end is sort of the tree that will one day change the hybrids into whatever comes next. So it's a page-turning device, which I think.
Do you think it
matches
goes
some of
back
the
into just animals at that point after?
no, humans, hybrids. I don't know. Robots are next.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Robots? Okay. Huh. All right.
Transformers.
This
is more than meets the eye.
man, do you think this is actually Cybertron the whole time?
Oh, that would explain
there.
a lot.
Sick, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Becky starts G.I. Joe down the road.
Okay, all right. I mean,
She has G.I. Joe energy.
Let's focus back up a little bit. We got to talk about how great Wendy is. We got to talk about how about Wendy, being like, churning off the lights and then being like, I was born in the dark. Like it was just, yeah, she did. And then did the old, the old hop, what they call it, the frog leap there. And they were in front when they turned the lights back on. It's because she's a shadow master now. And just
when Pete says focus up, he just means let's talk about what I want to talk about.
Well, I'm bringing it back to
Becky
the show.
who did the leap, right? Not Wendy.
Well, Wendy hit the lights because she lives in shadows now.
Oh, okay, but Becky is the one who actually lives in shadows and did the leap and all the action and everything.
Don't confuse.
Don't you dare
Don't
take this away from Wendy. Wendy is now a shadow master and
Justin, I'm curious to hear what you think about this. We haven't talked about this action sequence at all where they're tracking down the beast. Since you were a little iffy about this episode, my guess is it was this, or am I wrong?
No, it was more the seeing stuff is
Okay.
and just not understanding the logic of the antler, the antler tree. It left us all to do a lot of that sort of.
But the blue
finishing
flames
up.
was cool. We can all agree with that, right?
Yeah. I like this show and I like this episode. It's just for a last episode to leave me with questions, I was bummed out a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if I remember correctly, it answers way more questions than the comic book does. So there is that.
That's fair. But what I guess about the chase, I mean, it definitely the beast was a red herring. Then the whole time, it didn't ever make it there. I did like the way Becky kills Jordan. I was like, wow,
Oh, yeah.
that's tough. A tough pull.
It was,
I was
cool
like, oh,
the
look,
way she
they're
was
gonna
like,
connect. I like. She
Sorry
was like,
about this.
why are you doing this? He's like, I don't
Sorry,
know. I just
bro.
always lose. And I was like, oh, I thought she was gonna cut through his toxic masculinity, reach a deeper core. And she's like, oh, you always lose. Get ready to take an L, dog. And I was like, wow.
she was like, well, I was going to try to talk you out of this, but if you're already losing, we might as well keep that going.
And maybe the underlying thought there is like, when the patriarchy needs to go down, you take it down. You don't. The conversation's over. And like,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. It just really, it was a real like fun swerve in that moment for her to be like, "Fuck me." How about fuck you?
Oh, speaking of which, they got one F-bomb for the series. I think it was for the entire series.
Yeah.
With what was Jeff's line? Something like, "You fucked with the wrong kid."
Yeah.
Something like that. And I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Getting saucy up in here.
Truth, though. Truth.
I thought that action sequence was okay. I still just have questions about what they were going to do with the beast. Like we talked about the last episode,
Yeah.
was just going to bash into the cave and use that large but still relatively small drill on the tree. Why couldn't they just bring a drill with them? I don't understand. But at the same time, I think it was just a chess match thing of getting everybody in the same place at the cave at the end there. So it's okay. It was fun. Becky's stuff was very cool. As I've always said, she lives in shadow. She's made of shadow. And that's Becky.
That's the big takeaway.
Yep, there you go. I want to talk about the Will Forte return, which I thought was fantastic. And I want to frame something up that's probably not important for anybody to hear. But when I said this show gave us everything we wanted, I don't know about you guys, but normally when I throw out stuff like last episode, it would be great to see Will Forte back, or I think we'll see Will Forte back. I don't actually expect that to happen most of the time. Like, that's the thing that I want to happen. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. But I sort of expected we would get flashback footage because they wouldn't be able to get Will Forte back in studio or to New Zealand or whatever they shot him. Like, it would not logistically work out. Same sort of thing with the James Brolin thing, where I was like, this is kind of a pipe dream of, I think this should happen, but then it comes down to, can you do production schedules and convince James Brolin to put fuzzy little waving ears on his body, and he'll be like, no, thank you.
Don't.
Got him.
cowboy."
No, the bro show stepped up huge.
Every attempt to
Absolutely.
put ears on me eventually has to end. And this one's gonna end in a yes.
But I was so thrilled to see that they managed to work out both of these things because it made it so powerful to see Will Forte again in this role at the end here talking to Gus. He just brings humor and gravitas to everything in such a lovely way. I just thought this was a great scene.
Well, and I agree with you. I especially liked just bringing back the tone from the first season, which was sort of like, hey, I don't know what to do in this apocalypse, but it's fun. Let's have some fun and like screwing around. And like Will Forte just is that always. And he comes on and is like, even in this most dramatic, Gus has lost hope, dark place, Birdie just died. And he comes on and is like, hey, bud, what's you doing? And I was like, oh, man, it's such a nice breath there. And so that was great. And then I really loved, this was a moment where I really liked the open-ended nature of the conversation. He was like, I don't know, what do you think? The world needs to move on, but are you ready to turn the page? What's on that next page? Like it was a lot of just questions and sort of rejuvenating Gus, letting Gus rejuvenate. Again, like
It's some great parenting techniques right there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is a lot of the father sort of really passing the baton, helping him, but not like telling him what to do. So that I thought was very effective. And the moment when Pubba and Jep are like,
oh, dude, that
my two dads.
Oh yeah, the power nod that they gave each other. I was just like, oh, I didn't know how much I wanted them to be on screen together, but man, that was an awesome moment for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff got to meet his whole family. It's very touching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just total wonderful wish fulfillment there with that scene. And then turning to the James Brolin scene, again, I love that, like, it was exactly personally what I wanted it to be, and they completely delivered on it with James Brolin as old Gus. You get to see old Wendy. You get to see their grandkids there. They're telling the story. Right in the middle of Jep clearly dying, except not, which is shocking and surprising. But Brolin crushed that. I loved everything about that. What a great scene.
Yeah, I mean the Wendy of it all was really beautiful. When she put her kind of head on Gus's shoulders, and then we kind of saw them later in life, and then the kid who was like, why are you calling him the big man? Put some respect on his name. Like, what was his real name? And the kid is a curious combination of a pig and a deer. So we really got to see the whole family there. It was just...
Real quick question. What do you think that tastes like, Pete?
Oh, don't. I can't.
Come on. Come on. That's one tasty little child.
Oh my God. You're the worst, man. You're the worst. You're just watching this being like, ooh, I wonder what that tastes like.
Dribbling down my chin.
Oh my God, that's a fun combination.
He's a taste first viewer. Always has been.
Yeah, you know what we got to do? We got to redo this podcast from the beginning and eat a different animal theme to the episodes.
I mean, that's what I want to watch a show called Salt Tooth and get into some real savory shit.
Saltwater taffy, man. Come on.
So that was great. It was great seeing all the animal kids again. Like I said at the beginning, that was super fun.
Them all just running and hug. It was great.
Sorry, could we talk about the Jep sort of like once they're out of the cave and Gus sits down with Jep, we think he's dying in the snow.
Yep.
And I thought this was so like, because I really liked the idea that they were going to take a moment and we didn't know what was going to happen here. It definitely felt like Jep was going to die right there on that snowbank. Like, what a beautiful view, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so funny when everyone else is like, hey, man, we're going to the after party. You going to sit here with your dying guy? Okay, cool. Well, chill. Okay. Becky's like, we'll catch up with you. I was like, hey, do you know something we don't?
Turns out she does.
Yeah, I guess she does. But I know you guys were just saying this, but like the idea that Jep got to be there and tell this story over and not into the final end when James Brolin is telling it, but like you can tell they're sitting there guzzling syrup, just telling this story and just enjoying that they did everything they accomplished everything they set out to and saved the world.
Well, and I think that definitely does imply, given that we get old Gus telling it, and like you're saying, yes, presumably Jep was telling the story as well to these animal kids who weren't there, that, like we talked about all along, this is the story they are telling the way they are telling it. So anything that has sort of a skip of logic, I think you could forgive it by the fact that they're telling a fairy tale. They're explaining, like, this is why the world is all hybrids. This is where you kids came from. And it doesn't need to be, like, fact checked and referenced and citations, whatever else. It's okay if they skip over some stuff and make it, like, a little more simplistic for the people they're telling the story to.
Yeah, and what I'm worried about though is like these kids who are clearly not doing a good job of construction, like building these tree forts. And I was like, I don't know, man. It just seems
What are you
like
talking about? They got like a weird urn egg shaped thing that they're going to live in somehow. It's cool.
Pete, they get to live in a Return of the Jedi style Ewok village.
Yeah.
It's sick.
Yeah, you want to talk about, you guys were talking about like Goonies and the different references. I mean, this in the, we got a car chase, we got kind of like a Mad Max thing, then the cave kind of exploding as they jump out in time. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different, and then the Ewok ending. I was surprised we didn't break out into song there and do a little nub-nub.
I was going to say, I know they filmed it a couple of years ago, but released the nub take. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, man. Oh, jeez.
I do think the Indiana Jones is sort of what a lot of this episode felt like to me, with the just set pieces that were like the car chase, the big confrontation. It was giving me the Last Crusade. A lot here.
I'll throw out there, this is a tiny little shot, but I really liked Zhang's men coming into the outpost, literal hat in hand, and being like, can we help? I thought that was really nice.
You'll need a help because we live here now.
But I thought that was great. And they're now going to have to deal with the power maintenance issues of you can't have a snowplow and a garden at the same time. But we'll see.
Yeah. Snowplow versus greenhouse, the ultimate confrontation. One more thing on Jep. Do you feel like
greenhouse needs braces?
Yeah, nice. At the end, do you think Jep's like, "Hey, man, can I stop drinking syrup? Because I'm a regular person who doesn't like this."
Mm-hmm. Do you know what I've completely forgotten about, just to mention, and anybody who's listened to our podcast all in the row, you already know this, but when we talked to Jim Mickle, the showrunner, after the season finale, he told us in season 2 that initially they weren't sure how Gus should have the syrup. Like, should he pour it in a cap? Should he eat it Winnie the Pooh style or anything like that? But it was Christian Convery who was just like glug, 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 glug. And that became the last shot of the series, which is kind of great.
Yeah.
I did really like the Bear and Wendy hug. The I love you moments was really nice.
Mm-hmm. I also loved Becky, once she was with the animal kids, the way the actress plays that, there's such a lightness to her when they're jumping in the net and reading the stories and everything. That just like filled my heart while I was watching it.
Especially when she's been doing Die Hard for a lot of this season, to give a shout out to Alex. And then she does really change there. And that's just some heads up acting right there.
I'm glad that Hound Boy survived the flip fall, even though the douche guy didn't, because I was a little worried once she.
Sorry, that sentence was nonsense. Could we get a lexicon? Could we get a?
Well, when she kind of hit pulled the lever there, and everybody goes flying, I was like, well, a dog chained to the back can't survive that, but the Hound Boy was alive, so I was super happy about that.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Rosie and the dog boys, but I thought this was really nice, the way that Rosie just changed. It wasn't like a whole big confrontation. It was just like she just did the right thing and moved on.
I think it was her
really,
sister.
Well, that's what I was going to just say. Is like it was really like Ginger, who felt like just a pawn that everyone was moving around. She actually was the deciding factor to get Rosie to do the right thing, which I thought was a really surprising, cool way of doing that.
Well, and if there's a theme of the episode and maybe the whole series, it's disengaging from your patterns of behavior. That's how everybody is successful. Like we talked about that with Gus with the tree, that he ultimately makes the other choice to take the tree out of the equation entirely. Same thing with Rosie. The way that she moves forward is not by sicking her hound boys on her mom and having them eat her mom and then walking off in the distance triumphantly. It's just being like, no, I'm good. Thanks. Yeah. I'm going to stop here. And it's kind of the same thing that Jep does as well, where he it turns around. He's not like, I need to take care of these kids. I am the one in charge. I got to lead my team to victory. It's more stepping back, being a team member, being a supporter, and that's pretty much it.
You know, kind of speaking of kind of summing things up and talking about it like that, I really loved Gus's kind of breaking down of the things that happened to him, and him kind of being like, I went through a hard time, you know, like when you died, my world broke, you know. I felt like that was a great kind of talking about his experience in a way that isn't this kind of doe-eyed kid, where like he is owning up to the things that happened and the choices that he made. And I just thought it was really well done.
Yeah. Before we move on to the candy, any other notes on this episode, this series?
I think the overall lesson is clearly Bobby wins. You know what I mean? It's Bobby's world, and we're just living it.
World.
Oh, God. Oh, Jesus.
You guys remember that?
What was, yeah, I do.
Bobby!
If I would have known you would have done that, I wouldn't have brought him up.
You said it, man. All
You
right,
did
why don't
say
we move on?
Hold on, just two other things. I
Yeah.
really, I got emotional when Rosie, it was happy at the end. Like I feel like the moment with the walrus baby, that was really cool. Two lines that just stick out to me. Jep saying "you and your third-rate posse" when he had the dynamite, which was also, I was like, wow, he just let that one go. Really had the chance to blow that up, and was like, I can't make the call. And I thought that was nice. It really showed that Gus is the one that needs to do things. And then saying "you're free, I am too."
Yeah.
Quick question before we move on. How did they make it past that frozen lake of rocks out of the cave?
They just burned everything.
Oh, they just
That's
burned
it.
everything.
And then they
That's
put
a classic.
down.
It's a classic Indiana Jones. You don't need to know how the villains crossed the desert.
Yeah.
They just got there.
They
These
just
aren't
got
the
there.
droids.
All
you're
right.
looking for.
Why don't we move on to our final candy of the season? We got Fun Dip. This is insane, and I can't believe you're making us eat this, Pete. I'm going to blame you specifically because just reading this,
You're welcome.
Fun Dip candy, it's from Lick Aid is the name of the company.
Yeah.
And I found two flavors, Raz Apple Magic Dip and Cherry Yum Diddly Dip, which both
That's what I got,
sounds
too.
like there's a crazy old man somewhere in
That's
a
what
candy
I got,
factory
too, bro.
making these. You got more of them, though, right, Justin?
Yeah, I have a.
Justin likes to get the
sleeve.
giant pack. The mega mix is known to do.
So wait, honestly, how do you do this? Because I feel like I'm going to open this.
Pete's
and
already...
it's going to
So,
burst like cocaine
First,
all
get
over
your
my
stick,
house.
and then you open like a little top part of the pouch
Oh,
here.
the top part of the pouch, not the bottom
Yeah.
part.
Yeah,
So
first
this-
shake it so make sure all the powder's in the bottom, and then
Okay.
just kind of do a corner of the pouch.
I feel like
and
you're
rip it
teaching
off.
us how to use heroin.
Yeah, man.
So this is a stick that's also
So you
candy?
lick it first, yeah, and then you dip it into the powder, and then
So
when you're
lick it
done,
sticks.
yeah, and then when you're done, you
It's
can
a
eat the stick.
Lick Aid.
I wasn't allowed to eat candy that was like drugs when I was a kid.
This is taking
can
a
now.
stick of sugar and dipping it into more sugar. I'm trying
Exactly.
the Raz Apple Magic Dip first.
I have
should go cherry
grape.
first.
I have grape yumptious that I'm doing.
Ooh, that's a great flavor.
Because that's the one on the end. This is the equivalent of there's so much work to get to the treat, like eating lobster or oyster.
This tastes like nothing.
worth it.
This tastes like nothing.
So you lick the stick first.
Yep.
Ah,
Here's
Dude,
my problem.
cherry. Get cherry. Stop fucking around with that apple shit.
I don't like cherries.
sorry, and the
so I'm
stick is meant to taste like chalk from a 1970s classroom.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, but it's okay because you're
The
dipping
stick
it
you
in
eat
the
last
chalk
after it's-
shavings,
yeah,
like
yeah.
the little stuff.
You
in
eat
The
the
chalk
stick.
shavings will
Did you ever
give
do
it some
that
flavor
in the
at the
classroom?
end.
Like you'd go over when the teacher would send you to the board, you'd lick the chalk and then take it, sort of dip it in the bottom of the blackboard, and then eat that. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Nope. Get some cherry, you dickhead.
This is literally. It
Oh.
tastes like nothing, though.
Oh, that's what it says on the bag. Get some cherry, you dickhead. Is that the right
All right,
package?
fine. I'm going to stop eating this because I don't like it.
This is like a
Open the other
snortable.
packet.
Yeah, I'm going
It's
to.
like a
Yes,
sn-
calm down. Jesus
It's
Christ.
like a snortable Smartie.
It's just. I understand what they're going for, but I would rather. I don't know, have sour salt or something with some sort
It
of.
was made in the
flavor.
50s, man. Shut up.
Oh, there's a lot of things in the 50s that I feel like we should just keep going with.
You mean like the Communist Party?
Oh my God, what is happening?
Yeah, no commies on this podcast.
That's right.
I'd say better Red the Dead, but I'm dipping this in a cherry.
How's the cherry, you dick?
Better Red the Dead.
Cherry yum. So this is a diddly dip. What does
Alex,
that mean?
you got to get a real scoop on there. I'm talking about a mound. Don't just. You got to get a mound.
I can really taste the diddly dip here.
Yeah. It's
And
funny,
you,
this.
and Pete, you like this.
Oh, it's so good. Get you going, man. Oh, wakes you up, bro. Come on.
This is like drugs. This is child drugs. This is like candy cigarettes for hard drugs.
This isn't even good sugar. Like, there's no texture to this whatsoever.
Oh my God, you and
It's
your
very
fucking
dust.
bullshit.
It's like dust. It's sugar
Yeah,
dust.
it's like dust. I don't like this at all.
That's why
like
we
this?
did on the last episode, ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Yeah, bite the
I'm
stick.
just gonna mainline this right off my desk here. Oh yeah.
Wait, did you say? Would you say desk?
Yep.
Okay.
This stick
Thought I
has
heard
more
something.
flavor than the diddly.
Well, that's the thing. After the sticks got all juiced up, it will have more flavor.
Then the am I reading this correctly? Diddly dip.
Nope. This is the worst one. I thought
No.
Boston baked beans were the worst one, but this is the worst one.
No, you're the worst
I gotta
one.
say, I think this is better than the beans,
Yeah.
I guess it's
and I
less
think I like this
dangerous.
better than other ones.
Really?
Yeah, this is better than Swedish fish.
Oh, boo, boo. Well, I think that's probably a good transition as we're finishing up
Poor
our fun dip
sugar.
here, and we've all equally eaten an equal amount of fun dip.
Wait, you can't finish this. This would take
No, I'm
years.
going to throw
I'm
this out.
2
It's
packets down. What are you talking about?
horrifying. Jesus Christ.
How are you getting so much of the dip on the wand?
Because I'm a
and into your
professional.
mouth?
It's not my
Pete,
first
you gotta
time,
make your
dude. You gotta
wish quick
Shovel
at
it
this
in. You
point.
got to fucking get in there with it, dude.
Make a
Work
wish or
the
you're not going to
pouch.
start seeing
Work the
flashbacks.
pouch.
Yeah, you should make your wish. You're dying.
This is a great transition, though, to talk about the Syrup Cup 2024. Here is what we ate this season. Here's what we tried and reviewed this season. Kicked it off with Snow Caps, then did Haribo Gold Bears, Rolos. I don't know why I keep going 111 while I'm counting. Rolos, Reese's Pieces, Boston Baked Beans, Swedish Fish, Mike and Ike's, and of course this episode, Fun Dip. So
You can just do straight dip if you want to, Justin. Just
nobody
take it
wants
down.
that.
Take it down, Justin.
Let's figure this out. Why don't we see if we can determine between the three of us who the winner is who, which person that we ate is the winner of the Syrup Cup.
Oh my God.
Justin, you seem ready to declare a winner on your end. You got one there?
Yeah. I mean, we touched all the corners of the candy world, from your dusts to your rock hard nuts to
Your soft caramel, you know what I mean?
your soft caramel to your gum, your series of gums. And my fave, perhaps unsurprisingly, is the Rolo. Anything with caramel. Chocolate caramel. That's the kind of candy I want to treat myself with. A lot of this other, like the dusty gummy stuff, is like there's a work element to the sugar, and I don't want that.
I mean, it really depends on what kind of mood you're in. You know what I mean? If you're looking for that hit, that candy umph, you got to go with a fun dip because that's just mainlining it. You go from 0 to 100 when you're doing the dip, bro.
And so, Pete, you're doing a 12-course candy tasting for the local children, your neighborhood children, right?
Yeah, it's
It
now
has-
just mainly dip. You know what
I read
mean?
in the newspaper, I believe it has -2 Michelin stars.
Yeah.
Don't Michelin
I don't know
star
how they do that.
candy.
I will throw out there, I feel a little torn about this because I expected Swedish Fish would be my favorite. I know, Justin, you hate them.
Yeah.
But I had the big ones, and they're not quite as good as the mini ones. So I think I'm actually going to have to give it to Mike and Ike's, which were
Wow.
really
Nice.
flavorful, enjoyable. I would eat more of them.
Mike and Ike's really jumped up in my esteem as well. I would put Mike and Ike's at number 3 if I was ranking.
So yeah, I'm going to say Mike and Ike's. Pete, what about you?
It's tough because it's a real tie between Reese's Pieces and the Rolos. I love me some pieces. I do love a good Rolo. It's Rolos are such a great vehicle for caramel, and they do such a great job on that.
Just caramel.
And then you if you get a Rolo, you're knocking off a chocolate fix and a caramel fix all at once. Reese's Pieces, though, are just that fun kind of M&M type of candy where it's just a bag of joy. So
the thing with Reese's Pieces, because I also love those, but they're just very consistent. They're like hitting a double,
Yeah.
They're always just like there for you. Rolos, I feel like can really that's nice.
Yeah, it's a possibility of a home run. You're sure. Yeah, you're right. But sometimes you're just looking for that consistency. You know what you're going to get. It's a delightful treat. It's not too much. Like you can eat a bunch of them, and you're like, if you eat a lot of Rolos, you're kind of like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and with Fun Dip, you can use it to regrout your bathroom.
There's so many uses for Fun Dip.
Yeah,
so many. If you run out of sand, there's just, if you want to do any sanding, you can kind of use it. If your sandpaper's a little low, there's just so many uses. You know what I mean?
It's funny to me that Fun Dip tastes and has the consistency of the fluoride treatment your dentist gives you. And it's the opposite. It's like ruining your teeth, Fun Dip. Well, it just tastes the same. It's the yin and yang of
First off, you're wrong on the taste. The flavor of Fun Dip is glorious. I don't know what kind of childhood you guys had without Fun Dip.
Fun Dip is already lost. I think we need to move on at this point. So, Justin, we have you choosing Rolos.
Rolos.
Mm-hmm. Pete, we have you choosing Reese's Pieces, and I chose Mike and
Rolos.
Mike's.
I chose both.
You chose Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces.
Yeah, you can't choose two. You chose one. We are once again stuck in a bit of a quagmire
Deadlocked.
here. Every single season this happens. So,
like
once
three
again,
bucks locking their pinky antlers up in the field, trying to have dominance.
So once again, we're going to have to go to showrunner Jim Mickle, who we will have on for the next episode for a wrap-up. We're going to have him determine the winner of the Syrup Cup and also the winner of the Grand Syrup Cup.
Yes.
Determining the ultimate winner of the entire series, going back to season 1 and season 2. So look forward to that. In the meantime, if you want to support this podcast and all the podcasts we do, patreon.com/comicbookclub. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Facebook and YouTube. Come hang out. We'd love to talk to you about Sweet Tooth and Candy. Apple, Spotify, Android, or the app of your choice to subscribe, listen, and follow the show at Comic Book Live on Twitter/X, Comic Book Club Live on TikTok and Instagram, comicbookclublive.com. For this podcast and many more, until next time, the Candymen can.
Oh no, I'm dying and having a flashback to buying Fun Dip. Oh no.